Okay, hello. Welcome to the video. This is a video I've been waiting to do since potentially before I even made this channel. Last year I saw a video on a channel, Sunbeam's Dress. It's a channel that is mostly like beauty lifestyle stuff, but she also talks about what she's reading all the time. She made a video where she read the long list for the Booker Prize last year, and I watched it and I was like, that's a good idea. So I started looking into like book awards, thinking maybe that could give me some ideas about books that are very good, and here we are, basically. The Women's Prize for Fiction is a UK-based award, and it's just the first one that happens in the year, so we're doing it. We're reading it. I know other booktubers do similar things like this, especially in regards to the Goodreads Choice Awards. So I'm not pioneering this concept at all. I'm linking Jess's video down below because that's what really inspired me. She talks about books in like a very slow way. I just like, it's very comforting. It's very warm. And she reads things that I don't see a lot of other people talking about, which is something that I always appreciate in a channel, is talking about things that I don't see in other places. Okay, so just some history context regarding this award. It was started, I think, in 1991 when the Booker Prize didn't shortlist a single book written by a woman. That's another highly acclaimed literary award. So a group of people created this award to celebrate women authors. It is UK based, so only books published in the UK are eligible, and I don't think that includes translated works, but I'm not sure. And this year there was a controversy because one of the books that was longlisted was Detransition Baby by Tori Peters. It's written by a trans woman, and so naturally the TERFs came out and they were like saying all kinds of disgusting things. There is a letter that they wrote. I'm gonna link below a video of Book Community with Jess where she talks about this whole situation and reads the letter, and it's all there. It's a disaster. But yeah, the TERFs came out. They didn't like that a trans woman was up for this award for women, and the Women's Prize organization was like, this book or this award is for all women, cis women, trans women, and anyone legally defined as a woman, which is weird language. It's language that is generally used to exclude trans women. Whatever, don't love that. I think their response was fine, but not great, basically. But they were like, we're not gonna take this woman author off of our list because you're being TERFy. And there also was another controversy regarding similar issues where a non-binary author, Akwaeke Emeze, was up for the award. Messy as far as awards go. I'm sure they're all messy, but this particularly, there has been some gendered issues, and the video, the Book Community video, is excellent at unraveling, unwrapping, unpacking the whole issue, and you should watch it just regardless of whatever. You should just watch it. Anyway, okay, so the shortlist was announced today. The long list had, I think, 16 books on it. The shortlist will have 6 books, and the winners will be announced on July 7th. So I will have plenty of time to read 6 books between now, April 28th, and July 7th. So yeah, I have not looked at the shortlist yet. It did drop today, and I'm going to look at it right now. Okay, so on the long list, there were a bunch of books that I had heard about and that I did want to read. Detransition Baby, also Transcendent Kingdom by Ya Jassy, and I don't know, there were a few more. And the only one that I had already read was Piranesi by Susanna Clark, and I don't really think that's going to be on the shortlist, but anyway, let's see. Okay, first up, The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett, which I'm excited about because I do want to read this book. I have heard only amazing things about it. I'm sure it's going to emotionally destroy me, and I can't wait for that. Okay, interesting. Up next, Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I didn't think that this would make the shortlist. So I did read this book last year. I don't think that I will reread it, but this is a very strange little book. I talked about it towards the end of my first booktube video, my favorites from 2020. So I'll link that. Oh, okay. Unsettled Ground by Claire Fuller is also on the short list. 51-year-old twins, Jeannie and Julius, who still live with their mom, Dot, in rural isolation and poverty. Secrets, love, friendship, neighbors, loneliness, isolation. The cover on this one is incredible. So yeah, looking forward to reading that too, I guess. I am interested in reading more books that center older characters, like 51-year-old twins, like 50-year-old characters as a main character. I'm interested in more of that kind of reading. Transcendent Kingdom by Yaa Gyasi was shortlisted, so I'm really excited. I'm gonna read that. I'm so excited. I loved Homegoing by this author. So, yay. This is another tale about Ghanaian immigrants, depression, addiction, loss. How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House by Sherry Jones. I'm so excited. So this is a debut novel, and it is, I think, tells a story of 4 different women set in Barbados, and I've never read anything set there or by an author from there, which Sherry Jones is, so that's very exciting. And then the last one is No One Is Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood. I have seen this cover a lot, but I have no idea what it's about. Although Patricia Lockwood, I believe, is a poet. Okay, yeah, this has to do with social media and, you know, human nature or something. So those are the picks. I guess I'll see you once I've read some of these. This is going to be heartbreaking. I cannot wait. Okay, I'm back. I read the books. Now, in no particular order, let us discuss. Okay, first up, Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I read this book last year and I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. What it's about is this guy, Piranesi, he lives in a house, capital H house, and the house has endless halls and stairways and, you know, atriums or whatever, and they're all filled with statues. And there's one other person who is sometimes in the house with him, the other, and they do little experiments and stuff together. And Piranesi has explored, you know, so many of the halls. He knows all these statues, and so a portion of the beginning of the book and the middle of the book and most of the book is about him exploring, not about, but involves him exploring and describing what he's seeing. So there's a huge visual element to this book for me, in just imagining the spaces that he's wandering through. It was so incredible to read. It was so visceral to me. Like, I can close my eyes and I still can see some of my favorite imagery, like of the tides coming up the staircase from the sea that fills the lower halls, and the birds flying through the clouds that are in the upper halls. Like, so beautiful. The statues were weird, and that made it really fun to read the descriptions of them. But there's also, you know, a plot here, which is that Piranesi starts to suspect that there might be other people in the house. He knows that there have been other people, but there might be another person now, and it's sort of like who to trust and like what's going on here, and he's sort of trying to get to the bottom of it. And that's the story, and that to me was really not as interesting as the visuals, but it still was an excellent read. It was pretty quick, and yeah, I gave it 4 stars, and I like, oh God, just like fantastic writing. And, you know, at its heart, this story is sort of about, I mean, loneliness and a human connection and, you know, that kind of thing. But for me, what was good about it was less the themes than just the visuals. I just think it was such a beautiful book visually. which not all books are. Anyway, let's talk about Transcendent Kingdom by Ya Jassi. I gave this book 5 stars. I loved it. The story is about a Ghanaian family in Alabama and what happens to them. We mostly follow Gifty. There's some stories relating to her youth growing up in Alabama, and then also there's more of a present day storyline about her in grad school or something. Maybe she's getting a doctorate, and she is studying addiction and depression, which are 2 things that sort of really deeply affected her family. And the book is a story about that, and also like her relationship with faith and God and her family, her roots, her history, all that. I mean, it really all it just all comes together in this. To me, it was beautiful. Ya Jassi's writing is fantastic and extremely moving, and I was fascinated by a lot of the conversation that this book sparked. Just like some of the what do I mean? Gifty is a scientist. She's studying neuroscience, and she also comes from a religious background, and her belief in God and faith, and how do those things merge and come together. And that intersection was really interesting to me, and it also was just sad, heartbreaking, and not 100% sad, but this book made me feel things, which I love. At the end, when I finished this and closed it, I just was full of a yearning, but I don't even know for what. I just there was something inside me that was gonna sort of stick with me, and I don't know. I really don't feel like I've done this book justice, but it was a fantastic book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. I don't know if I liked it more or less than Homegoing, which is her other novel, but they're both fantastic. And yeah, this book, I don't know, just human connection, family, love, all that. It's all there. Wow. Okay, next, let's talk about No One Is Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood. This book, it didn't work for me. I ended up giving it 2 stars. It's written in a very potentially divisive way. I think that some people would really like the writing style of this, and then some people like myself might be really put off by it. But it's, style aside, it's about a woman who, it's, I think, semi-autobiographial, and it's about a woman who kind of becomes Twitter famous. Her tweets are going viral, and she's traveling the world, and it's about her experience of existing online and in real life at the same time, and where are the lines, I guess. And then she returns home because her family has sort of been struck with a tragedy, and then trying to merge herself back into the real world, and I don't know. I guess that's what it's about. And it's very, of our time, this exact moment in time. It reminded me of Weather by Jenny O'Fill, and My Year of Rest and Relaxation, and Future Home of the Living God, in a way. And I don't know, the first 30% of this book, I was yes, I love this, I get it. We're, being critical of social media, and also the governing systems of the world and human interaction and all that. But then after that, I was kind of ready for something else. It just got old for me pretty quickly, and I didn't feel attached to the story or the characters at all, and it just, yeah, it didn't work is the most that I can say about it, really. Yeah, I think that this is a great book for people who are extremely on Twitter, but it's not a traditional narrative, and it's not my favorite book. and it's not a genre that I think I'm going to read any more of. Whatever this genre is, I'm calling it millennial fiction, but I don't know, it's just like extremely contemporary fiction. And I'm not having a good track record with that style of writing, so this is probably it for me. Next, let's talk about The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. So this is a book that was hugely popular, is hugely popular, I think. I mean, this is the one out of all of these that I've seen the most people read. And I know it was up for some Goodreads awards as well. And for good reason, in my opinion. I gave this book 5 stars. The Vanishing Half is about a set of twins who grow up in a small town in the South, and they run away, and one of them gets a job where she is passing as a white woman, and she runs with it and she lives her life as a white woman, and the other one does not do that, and she ends up marrying a darker skinned black man and having a very dark skinned daughter, and the other sister, who's living as a white woman, has a very light skinned daughter. And so this book is about the huge difference in their lives and how they eventually like kind of intersect again. It was good. This book was like amazing, really. And its complexity, the complex issues that we're dealing with, aside from just race, there's, you know, I mean, colorism as an aspect of racism is like a main theme here, and also there is some like LGBTQ plus issues going on. It also has that multi-generational storyline I really like, and I find to be really like, it really pulls me into a story when we're not just following like, you know, these two sisters, but also their children, and like what changes and what things do you inherit from your parents, like trauma wise, that like then affect, you know, what happens next and all that. And yeah, this book was so good. It was absolutely worth the hype. I'm so glad I read it, and I'm so glad so many other people read it because it was amazing. And let's now move on. Next, let's talk about Unsettled Ground by Claire Fuller. This book I really liked, and I had a really hard time figuring out how to say what I liked about it or why I liked it. So the story is about a pair of twins, Jeannie and Julius, who are 51 years old. They have always lived together in this little cottage with their mom, who in the opening pages of the book, she dies, and they are left sort of not only reeling from that, but also uncovering all of these things from their past that they didn't, like things that they didn't know about their mom and about their way of life. And what's hard about talking about it is that, like, what is it about? Like, what is the plot of the story? I think that it might be boring, but I really liked it. The writing style, or, you know, whatever, like the words in this book were beautiful to me. It was stunning. The description, and there was a lot of music in this book, and there was a lot of, I don't know, like little things that I was like, wow. So even though it was overall kind of a downer and maybe didn't have that much like going for it plot wise, it was not that exciting. The characters were just people. They were both, you know, flawed and, you know, just like regular. I just really loved reading this book about these two people in this situation that was just not a situation I had ever thought about before. So just kind of experiencing it with them, I don't know, I really liked it. And I feel like I've done a weird job of explaining the story, and I knew it was going to be like that. I knew I wouldn't be able to really explain what I loved about this. I don't know, I guess this was about like resilience and family and secrets and community. I don't know. I love this book. I gave it 4 stars. I don't know if I said that. And that's all that I'll say. The last one that I'm going to talk about here, the last shortlisted book for the Women's Prize for Fiction 2021 is How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House by Sherry Jones. And I loved this book too. I gave it 5 stars. And this was a book that I had wanted to read before doing this little project. So I'm glad I got to read it, and it was not what I expected at all. Basically, this is a story about just a few people on a small stretch of beach in Barbados. And it's sort of there's a juxtaposition of some extreme violent acts set in this, tropical paradise. It's told in multiple POV style. So we have just, again, like a couple characters who are all just in the same place at the same time and experiencing their own traumas and how those are woven together. Mainly this book follows Lala and her story, which she lives in this small house on the beach kind of with her husband and her new baby. And the night that her baby is born, her husband is robbing one of the beachfront mansions on like the other side of the beach. And robbery goes wrong, he ends up killing a man, and then we also get a lot of the perspective of that man's wife, kind of dealing with the repercussions of that horrible crime. And yeah, the perspective shifts a lot between the two women and also several different men who are involved, I guess, and Lala's own mother. But it all happens in this really small area, which I always find to be really interesting in a book when we're confined. And they're not truly confined, but it just was it felt insular, and I liked switching between perspectives when the perspectives are in the same spot. I just loved that. And I think that this book was not beautiful. It was hard. It was dark. It was like traumatic for everyone involved. Yeah, so this is, like I said, about women and their lives, but also, I don't know, cycles of abuse and misogyny and violence against women, and yeah, it was rough. But they just keep going, or they keep trying. And that's maybe a common theme throughout all of these books, is you just keep trying. Which is also maybe something that is a sentiment that's extremely meaningful to us all in the year 2021. So that's it. In the end, for me, Unsettled Ground was the most surprising thing on this list. I guess I actually was very surprised when I saw that Piranesi was nominated, but I mean, yeah, I love that book, so I'm down. Unsettled Ground just was such a weird book. Again, like, not that it was about nothing, but it was kind of about nothing. So I was surprised to be reading it for this, but I really liked it, so whatever. For me, I think Transcendent Kingdom was the best book here in this stack, in this list. But I kind of think that the Vanishing Half will win. But I hope Transcendent Kingdom wins. They were both amazing books, so no hard feelings either way, but that's where I stand right now. And I will see you again when the winners have been announced. It's time for the winner. Today's the day. I actually just filmed this clip, I thought, and then when I went to look at it and put it onto the end of the video, it wasn't there. So I probably just actually didn't press record. So I'm really sad that I missed my reaction face when I saw the winner. But the winner of the Women's Prize for Fiction 2021 was Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. It is Piranesi, and that shocked me. I was so surprised to see that as the winner. Kind of just because it's so weird, and also because one of the quotes that they said about it was how it creates a world beyond our wildest imagination that also tells us something profound about what it is to be human. And I was kind of like, all the books did that, okay? But yeah, Piranesi was a fantastic read, and I'm excited for Susanna Clarke to have won that. I don't know. I really hoped for Transcendent Kingdom to win, but I mean, yeah, Piranesi was masterful writing. Can't complain, I guess. But I will say, like, maybe I should have, well, if I was really wanting to predict who was going to win accurately, I should have looked at shortlists and winners for previous years so that I could maybe have an idea of like what kinds of books get to win this particular prize. But I didn't do that, and I didn't really go into this with the goal of being able to accurately predict the winner. I went into it because I just wanted to read some fantastic books and talk about them, and I did that. So I do think that the Women's Prize for Fiction shortlist can be trusted as far as like being packed full of fantastic reads. But I am curious about other awards, and even before I started this video, I was thinking that I could do something similar where I read the shortlist for other awards, but not from this year, but from like a year that maybe is significant in some way, either like the year of my birth, or like the year that I graduated high school, or, you know, the year that I read Twilight and was like obsessed with Twilight. Like, what was everyone else obsessed with? You know? So that could be fun. Let me know if you have like a favorite book award. I know about this one. I know about the Booker Prize. And I know in the US we have the National Book Award, and I think that has like a fiction, nonfiction, memoir, and poetry category. So that's cool. But yeah, I don't know like what other awards are to be, you know, should I be taking note of? I know there's a lot of genre specific ones, but I'm not that interested in that. Maybe I should be. I don't know. I guess I'm gonna just start looking into book awards again. That's how we ended up here in the first place, and I have to do more of it now. Yeah, let me know if you've got any faves, if there's anything you keep an eye out for, because I'd love to know. And let me know if you've read any of these, if you feel like, you know, Piranesi really deserves this win. And I hope that if you haven't read any of these, I hope that you pick up at least one of them, because there's some fantastic works all around. So I guess that's the end of this video. Thank you so much for sticking around to watch this and hang out and talk about books. I thank you for being here, and I hope I will see you back here next week for another video. All right, thank you. Goodbye.